The HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler.
Welcome back to the HoneyDew, y'all. We're over here doing it in the Night Pants Studios. I'm Ryan Sickler, ryansickler.com, Ryan Sickler on all social media. Look, if you're watching, please help the show out and hit that subscribe. I'm telling you, it's a free way to help the show, and it really matters. And if you got to have more, then you got to check out the Patreon. If you didn't see the episode with Josh Wolf, go watch that, and then go subscribe to the Patreon. It's called The HoneyDew with Y'all, and it's your stories. And I'm telling you, this shit, it just doesn't stop getting wilder. It just doesn't. Every time I hear a story, I'm like, I don't know how anybody's going to outdo that. And then somebody's like, hey, you see how I had this motorcycle accident, lost both my legs and shit, and I'm shitting in a bag? I'm like, oh, no, but please come on the show. And he did. All right. It's $5 a month. You sign up for a year. You get over a month free, and you're getting a HoneyDew a day early ad free at no additional cost. All right. That's it. Now, you guys know. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Crab Feast. If you're looking for a new podcast, go check out an old one. It's audio only. And today's guest actually did the Crab Feast, but he is now here for the first time. You guys know what we do over here. We highlight the lowlights. And I always say these are the stories behind the storytellers. And I am very excited to have here today, first time on the HoneyDew, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Big Jay Oakerson. Welcome to the HoneyDew, Big Jay.
Buddy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. This is something I wanted to do for a while. But before we get into whatever you want to talk about, please plug, promote everything.
BigJComedy.com for all my dates. I'm nonstop on the road, so look for a city near you at BigJComedy.com. I do the Bonfire with Dan Soder, Faction Talk Series XM 103. That's on Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, and Legion of Skanks and SDR show both in the Gas Digital Network. And then my special, Dog Belly, will be coming out April 5th, I believe.
Great.
So check that out. It's just YouTube, free. Enjoy.
Same thing I'm doing. That's the way to do it. I love it. I love the powers in our hands.
I did not. You have good, like, you have a broad, like, production knowledge, though, too. Aside from just comedy, which is important, but that's what it was like the hardest thing for me, like not just being involved in only, like when other people produce things, you just show up and be funny.
Yeah.
What do you think the backdrop should be? This, whatever.
I'm fine with that.
And then now it's like, what do you think the backdrop should be? And it's like, this might be cool. And they go, okay, that's $14,000. You're like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? No one needs that.
You got some towels back there, man?
Yeah, when you're playing with like Comedy Central or Netflix money,
yeah,
like,
it's fine.
Can there be a volcano behind me? Like
a real
semi-erupting?
Yeah. It's fucking great. That's the truth, though. What's it called again?
Dog Belly.
Dog Belly. All right. It comes out in April. Look, I've wanted to talk to you for a long time because I know that you were a single dad like myself. Yeah. You have a daughter like I do. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize you said she's 20 now, and I was like, fuck, that's older than I thought, which makes me feel older. But I want to talk to you about that because co-parenting is challenging quite a bit. But what's your upbringing? What's your background? Like, you're from Philly originally, but what was your family life like? Your mom and dad split early?
My dad split. My mom and dad split when I was 3. He took off. And
he left.
Yeah, he went to, well, they fought. They had an argument, and he left one night, and that was it. And he went to Florida for a while because he had family there. His family is like a weird almost story. My dad, I know he tells it like a little more dramatic than I think it actually was, but they were Florida. His dad sucked, so the mom packed them all up and moved for some reason to Philly, married a guy there. He was abusive and kicked the shit out of everybody. And then they all went back to Florida, and he stayed in Philly and ... met my mom.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
Huh?
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have, so my mom, I'm the only child of my mom and dad.
Okay.
My mom has 3 with my stepfather,
okay.
2 sisters and a brother. And my dad's got 2 sons in Ohio with my stepmother. So
we're going to get to that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So he left you and your mom.
Yeah, so they've split. I mean, and
right.
He went to Florida.
But he left. He wasn't co-parenting.
No. and he came back. I mean, when I was still little, he definitely came back. It may have been like 6 months. It may have been 3 months. Could have been a year. I don't remember because I was too young. But when he was back, my next memory is left my mom, and then he was with Kathy, my first stepmother. Kathy was great. She had 3 kids, also. And then that was like the weekends I was supposed to go there, or every other weekend, which got dialed back to when he showed up, which wasn't all the time, consistently. And that was sort of like the way it was like throughout the whole thing. Like if I didn't, he forgot birthdays a lot, but he would take me, but it always felt arbitrary, like he kind of had to. And what's funny though is, as an adult, I know I'm drifting on the story a bit here, but as an adult, it is, you said you're 50, I'm 45. I feel sympathy more for like my parents, not my parents, my mom didn't really fuck up much, I'd say. Nothing that was life-changing in any way. My dad, like, I feel like sympathy for his fuck-ups because when I left my ex-wife.
So you were married?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I left, my daughter was 12. And I was like, thank my dad, how freaked out I was that my daughter would feel any way about me as my dad, how I feel about my dad, scared the shit out of me. And it's probably, honestly, and it's no disrespect to my ex-wife, she was great. It was just, we shouldn't have got married. You know what I mean? I was like a young fat kid. And then for the first time in my life from doing comedy, even if it was, it's never had in my life, even if it was someone who was morbidly obese and unattractive to me, I was so insecure that I'd be like, let's go do it. And, so I wasn't ready for like a kid marriage, but
you were ready to be a dad.
I stayed way, it's funny when my daughter became older and I talked to her about it, I was like, because I was surprised that she even had I was blown away that as tight as I thought we were, she had the classic, I thought you left because of me thing. And she told me she held on to that for years. I was like, oh man, I go, I'm so happy you told me because I can clear that up for you quick. I was there about 6 years longer than I ever would have been because of you. Because I was like, if I had left when you were like 6, which is probably around the time where I realized, I'm like, I don't know, man, this might not be. And my move instead was to go, let's get married. But I kind of I didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. But like, if there wasn't a kid, I was like, if I left, I was broke. And by that, I mean, even I consider if you break even at the end of a month, you're broke. You know what I mean? If you're paying all your bills, but you have nothing, you're broke. Yeah. And we were like that. And I was like, if I leave, you know what I mean? Now I'm like having, I'm cutting in half my household income ultimately. And wherever I can afford to live is not going to be convenient to get to her. And it's going to be hard. And it's almost, thinking about that, gave me sympathy for my dad in a bit because he was young, one. So they were 19 when I was 3. They were 22. He split. My first stepmother was older than him. I didn't even realize how much older because he's my dad. I didn't see he was a 22-year-old kid, 23-year-old kid. Do you know what I mean? I thought he was just like, so.
Always a man.
Yeah.
Even when I grew up watching guys in the NFL with these big beards and shit, I thought they were in their 40s.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is a 22-year-old?
You realize they're children.
Yeah.
So I do have the thing, because there's days where it's like out of sight, out of mind. I started to get like an appreciation for that. Like, it's not that I didn't want to spend time with my daughter or talk to her on the phone every day, but you have to make an effort to like do, just in the sense of like, just if you forget, I would get a thing at the end of the night if I was on the road and I just realized I'm like, oh, it's a 3-hour time difference and she's definitely asleep now. I didn't call her today at all. And I'm like, and I'd always have this, I'm like, this is it. This is the beginning of the therapy. Like, my dad doesn't pay attention to me. And it's funny to put that pressure on myself that she's not, like, she just, if you're a good father to your kids, even if you fuck up and do things wrong, like they know you're
going to.
Of course. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're a good father. You know what I mean? Like if you're a president, they don't have the pressure on you that you have on you yet. So I remember my daughter, I'd go, okay, Isabel, like when things started to happen a little bit and I'd be traveling a lot more. And I'm like, I know Isabella's supposed to see this weekend, but like I got to do a gig now that I'm going to be gone for like a week and whatever. But when I come back, like, let's make sure we go to dinner and like, I want to do this. And she'd be like, okay. And I'm like, I promise I'll call you every day when I'm gone. And she's like a teenager, and she's like, oh, all right. And like, what's the thing? Are you like dying? And I'm like, no, but just know that I'm here. And like, I'd be so worried about that, vocalizing that. So,
well, you say drifting off, but I was really processing myself. So, my mom was your dad, basically. My mom split, and we were raised by our dad. And now I was with you. Like, I was scared of being a parent at first because I was like, what if that's genetic? What if that's just in my fucking genes to just leave a fucking kid?
but I don't even know. I said I get that feeling too, but I think it's more like human is what it is. So I didn't.
But
get
I'm
to finish
saying
that.
to your point, it scared the fuck out of me to be a shitty parent too, which is why I went hard the same way. I'm like, I'll call you. My daughter's 8, and she's like, all right, I'll call you later. Yeah, I miss you and I love you.
And by
I'm
the
like,
way,
God
if you
damn.
forget to call, the next morning when you wake up, when you call and you're apologizing, she's like, oh,
Yeah, what?
all right.
yeah.
But again, I see the thing where it's about the effort and having the sympathy for it is just like so I'm going to give all the thing. He's 20 when I'm 3 years old, he's 23, 22, 23. He's a kid. Like, what really just felt like got taken off his plate was responsibility. And he's not even thinking long term of what it's going to be. He's such a kid, you know what I mean? He's like a kid. So I do feel the thing like, of course, like his life, like he probably liked his new wife and was enjoying fucking her.
But how old was your mom when he left her? Same age,
Same age,
right?
same
so
age.
this 22-year-old woman has to have all the responsibility.
And no, I'm not saying it's not fucked up what he did. I'm just saying I can sympathize.
But I'm saying your mom was able to handle that.
Oh, yeah.
He never could have.
No, for
never.
sure.
Right.
Never could have because of exactly the thing. I get the idea.
Right.
And I found myself falling into it. I don't think my daughter even minds saying it's like, she's never a burden to me ever in any situation at all. But there might be a night in my life where I was like, even just some weird, like, it's like, let's do something fucking sexually weird tonight or so, and it's like, me and mom are arguing, like, can I come stay at your place? And you're like, make up with each other. You know what I mean? I was like, now it's like if she goes, I have to, and she's crying, or you're coming over. It's the whole thing's different. But I'm saying, like, there's nights where you're like, I don't want to be a dad tonight. I want to do something weird or fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be a dad.
Sure.
And so and when I think it's like almost like working out.
But
like,
your dad was like, I want that every night.
Of course,
yeah, I'm gonna go to Florida.
But it's almost like when I've done exercise at points, I've gotten that addiction to it. Not that I was amazing at it. I'm just saying I remember that feeling where it's like, no, I have to go to the gym. And if you don't do that for a week, you remember that thing where it's like, I'm not going to go. It's like I got 15 minutes free in my day. I'm not going to the fucking gym for it. Where the other time you'd be like, I got to do it. And I just think like you fall out of habit. And I think his life just became easier. He's not right. He's wrong. He's actually a shitty father when I was a kid for that in many ways. But I get it also. You know what I'm saying? I go, oh, you just like, yeah. At 22, you decide to be like, I don't have to take care of this kid really? Like, oh, then fuck it.
But then he went to Florida and had 2 more kids?
So he came back to like outside of Philly after Florida. And it was my first stepmother, Kathy, and she had kids. She was great. I actually liked her a lot. And
so he's seeing you how often now? Weekly?
Supposed to be every other week. I'd say the real estimate would probably be like once a month, maybe.
But he's within driving distance now, local pretty
45
much.
an hour,
Yeah,
maybe something like Delaware at one point, like South Jersey and everything. We were in West Philly. What's funny is when we went moving to South Jersey, I'm like, wow, it's like we really moved right to where he was, sort of. But he was already gone. But he was with her for a while and then started seeing, I think, a lady at work, and his company was based out of Ohio. He was like he drove around, he drives a truck and goes and tests. It's such a weird job. It's an environmental job, weirdly, but it's testing underground diesel tanks for leaks.
Okay.
So he like has to just run a test. He goes and runs this weird probe test, and he goes and is traveling a bunch. And headquarters was Ohio, and he met, I think, my current stepmother there, and then left my first stepmother for her, and just became an Ohio guy overnight. And then I saw him once a year on like the summer times maybe. And it was an arbitrary, he would take me, but he like lived his, and he also, I felt like I was just in the way. My stepmother didn't dig me very much. Which again, as I've gotten older, sympathy for, like I was probably an annoying fat kid. Like I used to say her mean things. I'm like, this lady would like make me feel awkward. Like she would hide the snacks in like a closet in her
would?
room because I would eat too many of the snacks. And then as you think back, I'm like, I was killing myself just shoveling snacks in my face.
Yeah, but also because the guy she's married to now fucking bailed on you, and you're probably eating feelings and shit like that.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
She was
like
not thinking that far ahead.
No.
No, as I'm saying, she wasn't.
It's all on us. Like, I feel like we're that generation that really is trying to break these fucking kind of cycles. Like, I don't want to be a shitty dad like that guy. It scares me.
Yeah.
But then also to have the balance to be like, but I fucking get it. You were 23 years old, dude. I don't blame you. Like, they don't even have that. You know what I mean?
Really don't. I probably do have like resentment and stuff towards my dad ultimately, but like, it's funny when I tell these stories like over the years of my dad and some of the goofy shit he's done with me as a father. I always come back to him like, so they go, and then one of those people come on the road with me, and I go, so my dad's running. My dad, anything in a 2-hour drive, he's at the show.
Oh, now he's there. The
he loves being Gary, dude. He loves being Gary, and he takes pictures with the fans. He doesn't really fully grasp, by the way, that I'm like they're kind of laughing at him, but like, they don't have a problem
no
with him.
investment whatsoever. But let me reap all the reward.
All up in there. You know what's funny? There's such characters like in my storytelling too that like when he brought Diane, my stepmother, the one time to Pickwick and Frolic, someone goes, oh, we gotta have. Gary, we gotta have Big Gary in the picture, and he comes over. He goes, "Oh, is it the mean stepmom?" Like they're characters.
Oh,
the mean step, and my stepmom just like she just pops in too. Like so, yeah. So I do have sympathy for her, but again, I was like a child. I was a kid, and like.
But then he has 2 boys
she was
with
not,
her.
She was not very warm, and then what it is you just feel. I think it's like the classic. Like, well, I'm just a reminder of like his old life. We got a family here, basically. Which she said one time, which was insane.
What he said that
when
to
I was
you?
like, no, not him. I was like, I started comedy, so I was probably 19. I just started, and I was like, oh, you know what will impress my dad? I was still there. I'm like, you know what will impress this guy and get him to be like stoked? Like, I'm gonna call a comedy club there and see if I could do some guest spots on that weekend, and I did. It was hilarious. It was Lisa Lampanelli was headlining. I didn't know her at all. And I wanted her to do guest spots. And she, while we were up there, my dad goes, he told me, he's like, bring some nice clothes because they're doing like pictures. Like you were taking professional pictures. And I was like, I don't even want to do that. But I'm like, okay. So I bring them and we go. And it's my dad, my stepmom, the kids were pretty little at that point. It's like 20 some years ago. And like, you know, her brother, her family's all from there. So her brothers and their families and her sister and their family, all the kids. And they're going, and my dad married in to a woman. So that's the Oakerson family right there. And they were like, okay, the Oakersons now coming for the thing. And I'm like sitting with my girlfriend. I don't even think this is lame anyway. And I'm like, I gotta go. And I start going there. And my stepmother goes like, oh, no, I thought I meant like, our family like that, and I was like in front of my like girlfriend and stuff. I was like, and I had to do like it's like I don't even really want to take pictures anyway. I was like, yeesh. The first time she saw me do comedy, she said,
shit.
She told me the first time she saw me do comedy, like where I was like confident, like I was doing well. It wasn't like I had an audience, like a personal audience yet, but like I could do well in the clubs when I went on, and it was like a sold out something in New York. They came out for my wedding. And I came out to a sold out show, like a stand up New York or something. I had a good set, great set from what I remember. And she comes outside and she was like, I just don't understand why it's got to be like so dirty. It was like her first words, like, it's got to be so dirty. And it's like, lady, I get it's not for you, but like, can't you just acknowledge that like it went well?
It went well.
Yeah. Like everyone else is kind of like, hey, that's neat. You know?
My mother came to a show in Baltimore where I was featuring for Segura back when he was still doing clubs. And she came out and she's like, you were okay. He's really funny. And it's this ongoing thing now that Segura's my mom's favorite fucking comedian. That's what she said. I was like, Jesus Christ. I have one of the funniest. You weren't even invited. You just came.
I have one of the funniest of that is John, you know, John Rudnitsky?
Mm-hmm.
Great dude. Very funny. His mom, she's my biggest fan. Like when he moved to New York, they would come to the shows a bunch because he moved out for SNL. And his mom just like, and she is a prim and proper. She said, she goes, I don't like dirty stuff at all. She goes, but I just something, and she just loves my filthy
You're
comedy.
charming, man.
It's
You're
so funny
charming.
though, and she's such a sweet lady. It's funny when you turn somebody like that. But that's what I was saying with my dad. They don't know the story so much, and stuff like I've told people stuff like that story, and then people with my dad, they're just like, "So wait, I'm gonna meet this guy tonight at the club. I go, what's he?" And I go, "No. Charming is all." I'm like, "You're gonna love him." I go, "He's a great hang. He shoots the shit." And my stepmom dips off. He'll like smoke cigarettes and talk shit still, or smoke pot even still. But another thing I thought he gave me was good was a responsibility with drugs, probably. Because my dad's a pothead always, not anymore, but like all through my time, I remember as a kid. And I'd quote unquote catch him several times, walk in on him several times. And then when when he moved to Ohio and he'd pick me up to drive me there for the summer for a couple of weeks, he ain't doing that long of a car ride without smoking one. And
For real?
yeah. And
He would smoke a joint while he's driving you?
We were by the way, none of that. Talk about not knowing your kid. I'm a little fat kid, and he shows up to show off. He always liked stuff like this too. He's like, we get into like a classic Stingray Corvette.
Oh my God, yeah.
With my suitcase for the summer. And, I mean, it's like, and my dad was a bigger guy too, like smaller than me, but like bigger guy, and like just like sitting like this, like squeezed up in a Stingray for 8 hours. Well, I just have such a visual of like going down the road. He's smoking a joint out the window,
A joint,
and looking at me and giving me at like. I'll be fair and say 13 or 14. It may have been a little younger, but he's giving me the, when you turn 18, I'd rather you do this than drink because it was from the earth. I remember that's the first time I heard like the from the earth thing. And I'm like, all right, I guess. Like, it just seems weird. Like he was over explaining it so much that that's how I knew it was something bad.
Yeah.
Because I always just equated like pot with being just like something that like a idiot does.
Yeah.
And because it was always like kind of his thing that I didn't know the correlation, but because of that, I didn't really smoke until I was like 23. I did a few times at that point. And then when I was probably about 27 or so was when I became like an everyday like pot smoker. And while I do say I really would have loved to go back, it wouldn't be a good idea, but I would love to see the outcome of a smoking pot in high school because I'm like, man, maybe that's why it wasn't that awesome.
I didn't
Like
smoke
maybe
like
if I
that
smoked
either.
pot in high school, that would have been really fun. Like just go take. I probably would have been more interested in like a history thing. You're
I
like,
agree.
No, what they
I
did.
agree so much.
But instead, I was just like
I
looking.
would've been into
I was just
it,
looking out the window. Like, can we leave here? I hate this.
I had so many friends that would get high and go to class and stuff, or even trip on acid. They tell me later, I'm like, yes, we're on, and I'm not doing any of that shit.
Me
I'm
either,
drinking,
yeah.
but I'm not doing any weed.
But drinking's not going to like
21.
help you zone into
But
school.
I don't drink when I go to school either because they're going to smell it. But these
course.
motherfuckers are high and on acid and shrooms and shit. I'm like, what?
It's so great.
What? No wonder you liked it.
So but I do believe because I never really found a problem with like any drugs or even drinking because I just didn't do it until then. By the time I did it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. I was also having a kid young and getting into those things after that was kind of like, oh yeah, it's like I'll have a couple shots and a beer if I'm not driving. But then most of the time it's like, you want to do a shot, I'd say no to the first one, not because I'm like a goodie. It was because like, well, I don't get the point of doing one. Like now that I get it, like I'd do a few shots and get loose. But if I'm not going to do that, it's gross. And I have to drive like home at the end of the night and take care of a baby when I was little. And then as she got older and older. So I just didn't do it. And then by the time I had that freedom to kind of do it, it was like a responsible, I hope, age. Although I'm getting charged for smoking in my hotel room here.
Are you really?
Oh, yeah.
Weed or a cigarette?
Weed. I would never do cigarette in the hotel room for my own. I don't smoke inside my house or anything. That's gross.
They're really charging you?
Yeah. The worst thing is Bert and then put us up. So Bert's tour manager, who I know, thank God, called me today and said they're going to charge the two. I was like, oh yeah, it happens once in a while. I go, I'll pay it.
How much is it?
$250.
That's not bad.
It's
That's
fine.
not
I've been
bad.
ripping weed all week in there, and then I leave.
I was going to say if I'd known, I'd be like, I'll pay that $250.
Up front.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll stay right in my room then.
Tomorrow morning I leave, and I got the call right before I came here, and it was like, yeah, and I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, it happens sometimes. Yeah, I'll pay it. And then she goes, and they just say though, like if they smell it like happen again, like they're gonna ask you to leave the hotel. And I was like, so right on the edge, because you're like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
if I do at midnight, is it going to be a problem? Like, I think this happens. I smoked today before I left for the first thing. So there's just housekeeping still there. I'm like, do I do? I go, I definitely don't want to be kicked out of the hotel at 2:00 in the morning, but we'll see.
All right, so now let's talk about you getting married. You married first before you have a baby?
No. Classic white trash, dude. She was the flower girl, dude.
What? Was she?
Those flowers, yeah. She was 5 or 6 when we got married.
I remember when my daughter's mother was like, we were talking about like a wedding and stuff, and I was like, well, if we do that, then the kids won't be in the wedding. She's like, your kids aren't supposed to be in your wedding. I was like, oh yeah, there's that. They're not. They're not.
I was like, oh yeah.
I was like, oh, we're going traditional? All right. We're not traditional.
Classy, yeah.
We never even got married.
Potluck dinner? No, you guys don't do that? I've been to family weddings where like somebody in the family did the cooking and like it's those tinfoil trays with the candle, the sternos.
And a flour crock pot over there and shit.
Pretty Philly too. It's like, loose roast beef sandwiches. There's always a dry ass ziti.
Yeah.
A dry ziti. Meatballs that have seen their better day.
So so you guys were together for how long before you got married?
My daughter was probably 7 years.
Okay.
I want to say. And 7 or 8 years. And I was doing so much like other like just road stuff. And I think I got caught in something pretty bad. Well, I don't think I did, but it was before that. Really bad. Thought maybe we might break up then, but even I didn't want to again because it kind of came down to one. I love my ex-wife. She's great. You know what I mean? There's nothing with her. It was all like me in this. And I'm not even absolving her of blame of anything in their relationship going apart, but I'm saying for me, for sure, I was never like all in without doing like some grimy shit to some degree. But after I got caught with that and we decided to stay together, and I was just doing things kind of like maybe here and there. I was trying to be a little better at like, not having a side like life or girlfriend and just like fuck on the road a little bit, not make it a big deal. And I was feeling so good about like maintaining that for a bit that I was like, yeah, we should make this kid have a family. You know, I mean, Isabella should have like her family be a family. I was like, you want to get married? And she was so stoked that yes, immediately. But I mean, it was asked like while I was like smoking out like my sliding glass doors and my thing. She was planning by an hour later.
Just
yeah, I swear to you, I was like, hey, Carla, hey, you want to say fucking get married? What do you think? I'll throw a party. Famous last words. And then, so we did. It was a great, man. Such a fun memory. The wedding was fucking great. But yeah, and then we... And
you were together for about 4 years before you split? You said your daughter was around 12?
Well... We're still currently not divorced. That's still an ongoing process still because that is our only kind of headbutt at all is like, it's not even a headbutt. Like she has another child who's great with somebody else afterwards and she's not with him anymore. She's had a boyfriend for a while now. And I don't think it's like a romantic thing, but whenever it's like, hey, you got to like sign this, you have to respond to this email. Like it's, I might want to buy a house one day. Like, I don't want it to be half yours. Like, that's weird. We've been broken up for 10 years. And, so, but she's like, whenever it's like, so, we got to do this, that's when it's contentious. So that's
What is her reason for, if you can even talk about it, what's her reason for wanting to stay married?
If I could tell you, I don't think it's that she really even cares about staying married. I don't think she wants to get divorced.
I see.
Does that make sense? I don't think she wants to be a divorce. It's like
I
think she views it as like a failure maybe in some way or something. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm always like, how about your other daughter that wouldn't exist if I didn't do all these wonderfully terrible things?
Yeah, right. You don't get that opportunity.
Yeah. If I didn't cheat on you, this angel wouldn't exist. So think about that next time you start pointing your fingers.
So what's your first night like alone with your daughter? She's 12 and she's coming to your place. What's that like?
That took a minute. Too. That was, again, you talk about those like father things you like, and sometimes you don't even realize you do them. It's like, I'm glad my daughter feels comfortable to talk to me about it, but like, it was like her birthday a couple years ago. We were out. Her mom got a little zipped, and started taking some like quiet shots at me. She wanted her to go to college, my daughter, and I have much more of like, I'm like, I'll pay for you to go to college if you want to go to college. What do you want to go to college for? I'm like, and she doesn't know. So I'm like, well, I wouldn't just arbitrarily go to college anymore. I'm like, go do whatever you want to do.
As a college graduate, I completely agree.
Yeah, I'm like,
I've had that conversation with my daughter.
I'm like, if you want to go, if you like want to do nursing or something,
right.
I'm like,
if it's a prerequisite for the career, yes. But if it's
just
not,
arbitrarily go, and she's also, and again, it's the difference too. Like her mother is an academic, for sure. You know what I mean? But she's, and I'm not an academic. I'm much more of a creative, and my daughter just falls more on that side of the fence. She's a great artist. You know what I mean? But like, she doesn't really see what the career would be in that necessarily, and she doesn't really know what she wants to do. So she's going to go to esthetician school now. I'm like, fantastic. That's tangible. You'll make money in that in a little bit, you know, like instead of just taking like Psych 101 because you have no idea what you're taking. And, but she was taking like these kind of little pot shots at me. And it did come up, the story came up, and it was like, you know, when you left, like you told Isabella that when she asked why you were taking the TV, you said that you were house sitting for a friend for a little bit and he didn't have a TV. So, and I was like, I do sort of remember when they said it, but I sort of not blocked it out. It's probably the wrong word. I just sort of forgot because there's so many things happening. It was such a depressing and sad time, even though it's what I wanted ultimately. It was so depressing and sad, and I felt terrible. And yeah, my daughter was like, yeah, you did. And I was like, yeah, but like, and then I corrected that at some point, and it was like, no, that was like never, but you just never lived back in the house again. And I was like, damn. So it's like anytime I bring it up, I go, yeah, I did that 100% wrong. That's not even, it was the pussiest way to handle it. And like, but my daughter's heard me say that. So like, I think she appreciates that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially coming from
I've
her
apologized
dad.
to her for things that I think are like, you know what I mean? And I'd always hear anything that she was like upset with. And I was like, yeah, you deserve all that shit. You don't get born to see your parents split up. It's not what you hope for.
So then I think of things like that, and then I think of like when we split, my daughter was 1. She was like, no, I'm not doing this. So all my daughter has known is back and forth 50-50. So I can't decide if that's better to know it like that the whole time. Like I remember my daughter said to me one time, she was like 3 or 4, and she said something about living together like a real family. And I said, listen to me, we are a real family.
Sure.
I said, these people, your neighbors that live next door to each other who live together, these people above you or in these neighborhoods around you, just because they live in under the same roof does not mean they're a good family, doesn't mean they're a healthy family, doesn't mean they have all the shit that you really want. I'm telling you, don't ever say that again. And she got that pretty quick.
No, that's good too. No, I feel the same way with her mom too. I'm like, this is your family. We're your family. You know, when you get married one day, me and your mother are going to be there, you know, and not at each other's throats. That's not the way anybody wants to be.
No. If you are trying to improve your health, hydration is a great place to start, and Liquid IV is the hydration brand that fuels your well-being. Their hydration multiplier is the one product you're missing in your daily routine. In just one stick, you get 5 essential vitamins and 2 times faster hydration than water alone. Look, you know how much we love Liquid IV here. They keep coming back because you guys love them too. And I'm telling you, we keep them here at the studio and give them out. I get bags of this stuff and I give them to people. My producer, Kirsten, her husband use it. I take it. I start every day like that. I always put it in a bottle of water to take to the gym. And now they've got energy multipliers. They've got ones to help you sleep. There's one for immunity. There's even a kombucha one now. So there's something for everybody. I like the orange citrus one that's got that vitamin C kick, y'all. You know what I'm saying? With 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks, it's made with premium ingredients, non-GMO, and it's free from gluten, dairy, and soy. So grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use my code HoneyDew at checkout. That's 20% off of anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code HoneyDew at liquidiv.com. There's no quick fix for anxiety and depression. It's not finding a new therapist or starting an exercise routine. It's not more in regular meditation or a better diet. I know everybody out there has got the solution for your problems. You know, have you tried? Yeah. Yep. Tried all of it. All right. And sometimes you just need something to unlock your brain, a new way of thinking about and seeing the world. And maybe that thing is guided ketamine therapy from Mindbloom. Listen, I did this. Okay. I did 6 sessions of it for anxiety. And I'm telling you, it absolutely makes a difference. I've thought differently. I just spent a month in the hospital, and there were days I felt cool as a cucumber, even though I was going through the craziest stuff I've ever gone through in my life. So I know that it worked, and I know that it helped. There's a new tool to improve your mental health: at-home ketamine therapy. Mindbloom is the leader in at-home ketamine therapy, having safely helped thousands of people overcome their anxiety and depression. And unlike traditional talk therapy, ketamine works quickly and doesn't have the unpleasant side effects of traditional antidepressants. In a study of over 1,200 Mindbloom clients, 89% reported improvements in their anxiety and depression after only 2 sessions. Right now, Mindbloom is offering my listeners $100 off your first 6-session program when you sign up at mindbloom.com/honeydew and you use the promo code honeydew. Take the first step and break free from your anxiety and depression with Mindbloom. Mindbloom.com/honeydew and use promo code honeydew. Now, let's get back to the do. But did it take you getting some used to not only, I mean, to be a single dad also is like you got this child that comes over all the time.
Well, it's an interesting thing. Well, she wasn't over all the time. That's kind of the interesting thing. It would be like more, she eventually did start coming and staying over sometimes. I think her mom was a little uncomfortable. I mean, you know, she's also essentially taking her to someone's house. You know, my ex-wife, to her credit,
there's TV there though.
But yeah, my ex-wife, to her credit, really did for the longest time like the best she could and really good at like. I mean, my girlfriend essentially is like, I didn't leave her for her. It was just meeting my girlfriend was the thing that I was like, oh, that's like, I'm just more in line with what I want to do in life and some things with her. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not an anger at the other one. I'm trying to think of where my head was at. I'm such a bad pothead with remembering what I was talking about as I tangent off.
Well, I was asking you if it took you some time to get used to like co-parenting and being cool with her, and then also when your daughter started coming over.
What I did more in the beginning, which was good. So, you know, it's difficult as well. It's like there is something to. I tell my daughter in like a joking fashion, but she also knows it's like an actual thing. But I don't regret a second of it. I never wanted her to think that. But I'm like, oh, having her so young certainly slowed my career down.
How young were you when she was born?
24.
Yeah, it's young.
And I just turned 24 too. I was a month into 24. It's 2 months. She's and yeah, I was like when everyone I knew was like, I'm gonna go hit LA for a couple weeks and couch surf and whatever. I was like, no, I gotta go do black circuit shows and make money. Like, or you know what I mean? So I really couldn't do it. So it did for sure. But so when I left, and you know, my ex, it was not contentious right away, but like she was mad with me for sure, understandably so. We still communicated and everything, but she was not super psyched. But what I was able to do was it did free me up. And I was wondering if it was maybe mentally, my girlfriend said this before, and it may be right. Like also there's a thing that maybe I didn't push to find the next level of like success or anything, because like the fear of like, well, how much am I going to bury myself into something I'm not sure if it's what I want to be in the rest of my life. So I'm like, are we going to buy a house now? We have assets. We're going to buy that. You know what I mean? I was worried about that and starting to think about that. And then I'm also like, well, now I'm stunting her life too from finding those things. So I kind of split. But the co-parenting was really, and again, much credit to my ex. She really took the reins of like, it was rare that I was picking her up from practice. She lived in Long Island. I moved to Manhattan, and for the first couple of years until I started making some dough, I didn't have a car, so it was like I'd have to take the thing to the subway to the Long Island Railroad, an hour and a half out. And I did it a lot, but I didn't see it. And when I kind of put my nose to the grindstone more of work, and really, that sometimes becomes a point of contention too. Almost all of my finally like success as far as like feeling financially like I'm not underwater and I'm doing all right happened after I left, which I know creates a resentment for sure. But because of that, the co-parenting, to answer the long way around to get to the answer of that, is I wasn't as present as I would have been living there, and not even like She came over every other weekend thing, but I was able to finally put her in that private school for sure. You want to go to private school, put her in that private school. Oh, how much does that? Like, what? Right. Girls lacrosse costs $3,000 to join. And I'm like, all right, well here, and I'm doing all of it. So I'm saying I took care of them and stuff. Yeah. I made sure they had a car that was paid for, and they didn't have to worry about that. So I felt for one of the first times, we always got by together, but I was able to provide almost for the first time, and it's like sent them on vacations with my daughter's sister and stuff to go see, and and that's been good. I think I don't think she appreciates it enough, but that's probably what most dudes would say. It's the best. Did you ever see there's a great cutaway in an episode of Family Guy, if you're a fan, and it's Stewie says oh, now we got to go to the park and look at all of the divorced dads playing for their hour with their kids or something, and it's a guy pushing a little girl way too hard, almost aggressively on a swing, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "How's he goes, those are really cute shoes you got. Do they cost $2,500 a month? Because that's what I'm giving your mother." And he's just shoving the thing. The funny thing about child support too is if your kids heard how you talked about it, and you go, "Is that too much money to spend on your kid?" And you go, "It's not. Don't look at it that way. What it is it's probably less or comparable to what I spend on you anyway. It's just never laid out like that. You know what I mean? Right. It's like $2,500. It's probably not that much of a thing, but you're you don't really see it here's this bulk. But then you realize that's, she's eating all month and all that kind of shit.
Medical bills.
But I never had a quarter of child support or anything. I just always, I kept the receipts, but in case that ever,
But now your child's an adult.
And now she's 20. And that's funny. Now she's out of the house and
And what's your relationship like now? Does she come to shows?
Oh, yeah.
She does?
Loves. Yeah. We got to keep her. Louis J. Gomez, he's him and Dave, my partners, asked literally because they're having a hard time. And I get it. They're not wrong. They just noticed since she was a baby, a literal baby. So they're having a hard time being their gross and whatever stories we're telling selves when she's there.
Yeah.
There's definitely been things she was there for. I was I wish she wasn't there for that. But for the most part, she's 20. I see her as 20. I still see her. I still see her as a kid, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I also know her and I trust her in a way where it's just I don't know. The last time she was there, though, they were they pulled me outside. They're dude. I go, all right, I'll tell her to take a break from coming. She just loves, she likes it. She brings her friends and they think it's great. And I'm having a hard time. And that show, circumstantially, this guy named Byron, who was auditioning to be an intern, sucked his own dick on stage.
I hope he got the job.
He did. I remember looking over. My daughter and
your
being
daughter was there.
And I'm well, point made, guys. I won't bring her anymore.
I'll ask her to dial it back.
Yeah, I'll ask her to maybe steer clear a little bit. No, she always wants to come to the festival we do. And
oh, shit.
My relationship with her, like I said, I really, really love. It's funny, the years that I wasn't every day with her, again, it was such a switch because she was my butt. Again, I was young too. So when she got to 8 years old, 9 and 10, it was I can go get Lego Indiana Jones games and stuff like that, and just she'd come from school and I'd help her rush through her homework so we can play. She was my buddy. It was great. I love that we had that, and being with her mother longer than I was for that is more than worth that. More than worth that. And then to kind of skip to now, it's I think it's so cool. She'll call me when a thing. And she's hey, my roommate's out on a date. I'm what are you doing? You want to watch TV or something? Or want to watch a movie? And
she's close to you.
And she'll come over. Well, she's in Brooklyn. I'm in Manhattan, and she's kind of out in Brooklyn. So it's a crazy train ride. But she knows how much I want her to love me. So it's she definitely give it's just probably going to take me 2 hours on the train. You're I'll get you a fucking Uber, you dickhead. Because she knows. But the fact that she I love that. She wants to hang out.
Yeah.
We go to several Sixers games a year. We go to concerts. She comes to concerts with us. It's great.
I can't wait for that.
Those are great times. Yeah. She knows I smoke weed. I got caught by her which was a funny one.
How old was she?
And I called her. It's funny, I rectified it right away because I said, we were talking earlier about that stuff with my dad. It's funny how it hit. She was 17. She was living with her mom. And I was texting with her one night, just bullshitting. And my friend, Wayne, I was going to his house, but I was running late. So this isn't even true when I'm texting him, but I just wanted to make an excuse for running late. I go, hey, I'm just going to roll a few more joints and go and stop by the deli. You want anything from the deli? And then I don't look at it, and then I get the vibration comes, and I look, and it's my daughter texts me, and she goes, get me a sandwich, dog.
Nah.
And I wrote back, huh? I clearly see what I wrote back, huh? Like we're having a conversation, like in person. I went, huh? And then I felt so stupid for that, more than even the fuck up, for texting and treating her so stupid as to be like, what? I didn't even send that. That must be a mistake. I just called her right away, and I was like, all right, your dad smokes pot. Let's talk. And what's cool about that, though, is I was also able to tell her, I go, just, my dad, I told her the whole thing I just told you, and I was like, and I really didn't start smoking with any regularity until I was like 27 years old. I
just had this conversation with my daughter because unfortunately a friend of ours, his daughter got a hot shot in Baltimore and she died of fentanyl. Oh. And he came to visit us and, he was crying. I was crying. I was like, how are you doing? And he's like, we're doing good. And so then she asked me, and we flew into Philly and drove down to Ocean City. That's where we went, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And on the ride back, she's like, why was he crying and what was going on? I was like, all right, you know what? It was that same long ride. I was like, this is what's going on. So I explained to her about fentanyl. And I'm like, you're in elementary school. I know you have friends who have older siblings. Like, if you see any pills, don't take any of that. And then I was like, I smoke marijuana, and I explained to her that marijuana is medicine. Even with what I just went through, these doctors are telling me it's okay to smoke, and if I prefer that to Xanax, then go ahead. And I have them talking about that recorded so that she can hear real doctors say, hey, this thing can be used as medicine.
Yeah, you don't demonize it either.
I told her, I was like, you're getting a different education than probably every kid in your elementary school is getting about marijuana right now.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, how come this and that? I was like, well, there's a difference between medicinal and recreational. And some people they don't want to get up and make studios and podcasts. They just want to lay on the fucking couch and watch Sports Center. Yeah, I was like,
that's charged $250 in a stupid hotel. No, it's funny, my daughter, and people say I'm naive, but I don't think I am. I'm certain there's elements of my daughter that I'm unaware of. She's told me she would not involve me in anything with guys she's talking to or dating or, God forbid, hooking up with.
So she doesn't bring any boyfriends to your shows or anything like
never,
that? You've never met a boyfriend?
I wouldn't even be able, if you asked me if she was ever went on a date with a guy, I'd go, I've seen no evidence of that. But I'm sure she has.
Yeah, but she's kept it that clean.
And friends of mine who she's close with also, she does some assistant work for once in a while. My friend Michelle, she confides in Michelle. And Michelle doesn't tell me anything, but she's like, of course she dates and there's guys she's interested in. But she told me, she's like, no, I will not bring a guy around you until I want to be serious with him. And I was like, why? I can't. She goes, because you're going to terrify them right away. And she doesn't mean because she knows I'm not my baby girl better be home. I'm not that person. She's just you're going to make fun of his pants until he doesn't want to be around me anymore. And I'm like, oh, that might happen. And she goes, and you and your friends are going to run. You're going to take it. You're going to put a picture of him up on your podcast and everything. And I'm like, yeah, these are all, you got me. That is a thing. So I'm like, but she'll go and she's told me she smoked pot before. I believe she doesn't drink. I'm not saying she doesn't at all, but I think she doesn't really much because I've given her I'm like a martini. I was like, oh, that's alcohol. We went to a steakhouse a couple weeks ago, and I was like, and she was like, is it? And she did it. I could see it's the real, because it's me. I'm not I hate the taste of alcohol. Mm-hmm. And so I think she doesn't use it a lot. I think she probably smokes weed a little bit. She doesn't smoke cigarettes. She probably has vaped a bunch. And, but I've even asked her about the drugs. She's told me about drugs she's been around and stuff like that. And I'm like, you've never even tried it at all? And I believe that she believes, if she said, I tried cocaine once, that I will talk with her about it. I'm like, here's why you should not do that, which I've already done,
Especially today.
No, the fentanyl and everything.
Yeah, it's not even safe.
But I believe her when she says, she goes, no, no, she goes, my friends really think like if you die from drugs, like how lame that your time on earth is like so useless. You died from drugs.
That's a great fucking attitude.
And I believe her, if it makes sense. At the same time, also that she might try Molly one day. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not disconnected. I don't think because also I'll say, what are you doing tonight? And she'll be like, this underground party they're doing in the Bronx. It's like under this bridge and it's like DJs and everything. And then what time? They go to the cops come and then everyone kind of like, they break it up. I'm like, are they arresting people? They go, no, they just like come and make everyone kind of break down and leave. And I'm like, well, what time we get? Just kind of whenever that happens. And I mean, if that's the latest ever been, it was like 4 a.m. where she was at. And I say, well, if you're doing that, like, please let me know if you need an Uber first to get over. But do not get on the subway and let me know when you're home safe. Like, she'll call me and like I could tell by her voice, she's not like fucking whacked out or anything. You know what I mean? Like, and she'll be like, hey, we're home. So and so threw up. Whatever, and we're back now. And I'm like, I can't ask for more than that at that age.
Hell
20
no.
years old?
Yeah, 20? No, fuck no.
So but I can't. I'm almost excited, like because, and you'll see this. I think with
I'm excited to see what happens.
Your daughter's
8. She's only 8.
She's 8 years old. So it's interesting to see the things that happen that seem like you're like when you're a dad. Exactly, them having sex, them whatever, piercings, tattoo. You're like, oh, I'm gonna somehow like it just is what it. Do you know what I mean? My daughter's got like 4 tattoos, not big, but like 3 of them are horrible, like shitty artwork. Somewhere where I told her, I go, Isabella, tell me when you really want to get another tattoo, and let's get you like a really good idea if you're gonna do it, and get you an actual artist because I go, it's insane. This things you have to live with forever now on your dumb skin. But like but even the first day she had a tattoo, you get the initial, you're like, okay, here it is, that moment. And then same thing with her going to a 3 years ago, it's in your mind, you're like, she had like a not even a curfew. She just didn't really go out and do like friends, like late night stuff. It wasn't her thing. Now she's at an overnight rave thing that's happening. And so when it's happening, you're just like, the reason it's okay when I find out she had sex, or if she has now, I don't know. And if whenever I find out that she did, whatever it was, or she has a boyfriend, I'm not sure. Something about it that even as drastic as it all seems, if you know them, is what makes it not that. So I'm like, she has tattoos now. I'm like, tattoos, but I'm like, it's still fucking Isabella. Just with a dumb tattoo on her behind her ear now. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. And the fact that and also a relationship where I can go, it's like, stop getting shitty tattoos, you fucking idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, I like that. So I think that's like, again, you can't really ask
That's
for more
what I'm
than
saying. That sounds fucking amazing.
You kind of get like, you just get over it because you're like, yeah, it's a human thing.
Right. And she's her own person.
She's eventually going to fuck a guy. Shit. She's eventually going to have a relationship.
Or
she's
whatever.
She might fuck a guy that she meets one night and that guy's kind of shitty to her and never talks to her again, and she fucks whatever. It is like what it is. Like at the end of the day, you don't love her because of the sum of her mistakes. It's
that's very well said. Dude, see, we got deep.
This guy goes, the sum of her mistakes. We'll be right back.
That's where the fucking
we're gonna throw the commercial. Be back after these messages.
All right, I asked you also, we talked before we were recording about not just getting deep, but also if you had any embarrassing stories people done. You put up 2.
Yeah.
And I would love to fucking go out on those. You got seeing Kevin Hart and Sixers audience.
Yeah, the Sixers audience is a pretty funny one. Well, actually, I'll go sequentially. I'll tell the Kevin Hart one. It's funny. In Sacramento, Kev is performing at this a couple years ago. And Kevin Hart, for the background, started together. Me and him started together. Him and Kurt Metzger. Kev, but 2 years we drove from Philly to New York every day, 5-6 days a week with Keith Robinson. And we were just buddies. We just like, hit it off, me and Kev. Kev kind of went to L.A. Sort of quick. He went to Montreal pretty quick. And then he got stuff and in small parts things. He was moving and shaking. And then I just kind of had like the slow steps like going. So where our worlds come back and collide several years after not seeing each other, he's he's performing and headlining at the Arco Arena, which is where the Sacramento Kings play. I'm doing 85 shows in 6 days at the Punchline. And I get a hold of Kev or vice versa. I don't remember which, but one of us knew the other one was in town somehow. Probably, let's assume it was me reaching out. But he was like, yo, come hang at the hotel for a little bit. And I was like, all right. And I get a cab and I take the cab, 25-minute drive or so and the guy's asking me, the cab driver's like, why are you going, if you don't mind me asking, what are you going, are you changing hotels? Because I didn't see you have luggage or anything. I go, oh no. And it's like a cab driver. So you go, oh, you'll probably think this is pretty cool. I go, Kevin Hart, I'm a comedian. I'm in town doing the Punchline, blah, blah, blah. Kevin Hart is a old friend of mine. He's in town doing the arena. And he's like, oh yeah, I know it. And I was like, so I'm going to go visit him, say hi, catch up. He's like, oh, that's so cool. And then he starts asking a ton of questions about me doing whatchamacallit. He's asking about me doing the shows, the improv, and I'm a comedian. That's so cool. And he's being super complimentary, sort of. And then after some lull, he goes, is it possible to get tickets at all? And I was like, yeah, sure. I go, it's a bunch of shows. You just got to let me know which show and whatever. He goes, a bunch of shows at the Arco Arena? I was like, oh, you meant for the Kev show? I was like, no, dude, I don't think I can get you tickets for it. I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, man, all right, I had to ask, whatever. And I'm like, and then it was quiet and awkward. And when I get out of the cab, he goes, here's a card. He goes, it's hard to get a cab out here. It's like before Uber was everywhere. It's hard to get a cab out here. So take this, call me, give me 5 minutes, and I'll pick you up, take you back. Okay. And it was awkward, but I'm like, who cares? Drive me home. I go. Kev says, meet me in the hotel gym. The hotel gym, I've never seen this besides this hotel. The entrance for it is outside. It's not like through the hotel. It's like the gym for the hotel, but you have to go outside. When we leave, well, first I stand there, because I'm not in workout clothes. I stand there while he finishes up his workout and, lamenting his successes. I'm asking him in fairness, but I'm just like, yeah, what was it, man? And he's like, specials and Shaquille O'Neal did some, and then we leave the gym, and it's, I would say, about 30 yards from gym door to the front of the hotel. 30 yards shuts the city off. I mean, like, cars stop. People come out of buildings. People yell outside of windows. They're so blown away and so psyched. Kevin Hart's taking this little walk from his gym clothes in a towel, just going in front. They also, annoyingly, in my mind, I'm going, well, they definitely think I'm in security also, which sucks. And we go in the hotel, go up to his room, and it's everything you think. It's like a bunch of rooms, basically an apartment, top of this beautiful hotel. You want a lobster? We got lobsters, and it's a lot. And I'm also, I'm doing these 7 shows, and fun. I go that weekend going like, headlining finally, and then you get smacked in the face with it again, because I'm like, again, it's a headline weekend. It's all those shows for like minimum guarantees and stuff.
Yeah,
this isn't like money. Like when you come home from those gigs after buying food all weekend and stuff, you're coming home with like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm watching his life. I'm just like hitting me, where I'm just like, you really feel like a failure. And I'm trying to like find some. Oh, and he's also showing me he's got his like crew there of like film crew showing him the new intro for his special. And it's like there's pyro and he's being shot out of the floor. And I'm like, in front of a sold out arena somewhere. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to look around for some semblance of like, not his because Kev's Kev personality. If I saw him tomorrow, I hope I see him at the Super Bowl. It'd be great. But he's just like, I go, I'm trying to find some semblance of like connection. Man, what's like something that's we can relate to anymore still? And his boys are all playing Xbox 360, NBA, and I go, still bringing the 360 on the road, though. Some things don't change, right? So maybe the first words I said in 15 minutes, because I'm just scanning for something, I go, some things never change, right? Still bringing the Xbox 360. I go, me too, dude. I go, mine's like hooked up in my room right now. I got a game on pause, actually. And he goes, oh, no. He's just saying a matter of fact. He's not like rubbing it in my face, but when you're in that zone, that's how you feel it all. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah. He goes, no. We just, when we land, we have the runner go grab one and then we just leave it for the housekeeping to have. And I was just like, I have to leave. Like, right, I was like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta get ready for my show. It's like 2 p.m.
They're just go. Donating 360s every. Jesus Christ.
So I go. Sorry. I go. I have to leave. I just make some excuse. I gotta get out of here. I call the guy. He comes pick me up, and he gets in the car, and he goes, "Hey, man." He's like, "How was?" He's like probing a bit, and I'm like, "It was fine, man." Like, I know. He's like, was it all? What's he like? And I'm like, no, I know him. I'm like, it's like an old buddy. So I was like, he was great. It was good to see him. It was good to catch up. Just trying to get out of the conversation. And the guy goes, by the way, man, I'm like, I feel really like stupid for what I asked before. He goes, if that offer's still on the table, I'd love to come see one of your shows if that's okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm almost disregarding of him, but I'm just like, sure, yeah, I'll get you him. I'm like, yeah, man, that's fine. I'll get you tickets. And he goes on about a 5-minute thing about like, oh man, it's gonna be so cool. The punchline. I'm gonna bring my girl and be like, yo, I know the comedian. Like, would we be able to say hi afterward? He's like selling a night of like this thing, and I'm like, yeah, dude, totally, it'll be great. And then we sit quietly for like 25 minutes, and the whole 25 minutes, I'm just in my head going like, maybe I should have went to college. Like, I don't know. It's like I fucking
doubting everything.
Yeah, I'm like, there's like such a gap between our success. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm like at this point, I'm probably in my 30s. Already. I'm like maybe not deep 30s, but like early to mid, like the early mid 30s. And I'm like, I'm not like anywhere like near okay, like financially at all. And I'm like, it's just weighing on me. And then as I'm getting out of he pulls up in front of the hotel, my stupid shitty hotel, and I start to step out of the car, and he's like not saying anything, and I go, man, you want to give me like your info or take my, I'm giving my number. You want my number for the thing? This guy he leans back and he goes, dude, I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not going to come. I had to go inside and call my mom to not hang myself from a ceiling fan in that hotel. One last kick in the nuts.
Yeah, for real, dude. You're already crawling.
Dude, the oversell on the thing goes, oh, man, is it cool if we have a drink with you after? Can we buy you a shot afterwards? It's like, yeah, man, whatever. I'll say hi to you and your chick. Yeah, dude, honestly, he just didn't want the ride home to be awkward, so he got me all goosed up, and then he's like, yeah, dude, I actually don't give a shit, bye. Genius.
It is pretty impressive.
And where that'll flow into the other thing I think you'll like where it flows into it is like, so it's always and Kev is, unfortunately for me, fortunately for me, a friend and a great dude, but unfortunately, like, that's your gauge, the person you're like next to when you start. Mm-hmm. What are they doing? And also Metzger too, when we went into the mainstream comedy world more, whatever you want to call it, the out of the black circuit, Kurt, because he was such a great joke writer and so good at that already, I now have to adjust my hip hoppy, like pandering comedy, and Kurt's like, so Kurt's getting his half-hour special before me and all that stuff. So now I feel like Kurt's zipping me. Do you know what I mean? And you feel like last man out. And I've always just kind of carried that stupid and particular things, and you'll appreciate this for sure as a sports fan. I know you are. I'm starting to get...
I got a bat.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You're the guy. Oh, I heard about a guy getting a bat. I watch Kev on all these things. One, and I'll yell it from the rooftops. And Kevin Hart, I genuinely love you, and I root for you every day. He's not an Eagles fan. It's very easy to play Madden with Kev. He's a Giants fan. Now, that may have just changed over the years, but if it did change over the years, then you're a chick, because then that means a boyfriend made you a fan of his team. No, I think honestly what it probably is he's a Philly son, you know what I mean? He's so known that he kind of like, I'm sure he became an Eagles fan when they gave him probably the key to the city. And I'm a huge Sixers fan too. And like just after that Niners-Eagles game, my daughter loves, by the way, she loves sending me a good picture of Kev killing it. Because she's like, don't you know him? She always was like, don't you know him?
Yeah.
And it was like Joel Embiid with Kev celebrating with the Eagles after the win. And you're like, God damn it. And I when I started making any kind of money, one of my first favorite things to do is I can't. It's not like when I was a kid where I can go to 15, 16 Sixers games a year. But if I go to a couple now, so when I go to the games, I'm like, I'll drop a couple bucks so we can I know the row. I'm like, I want to sit 7th row and, behind this bench so we could see the offense in the second half. I just know where to go. And they're expensive and they vary of price, but they're always expensive. And through radio gigs, because the in-house announcer for the Sixers is a friend of mine because I've done his radio show a bunch and he's great. And when I started making a couple bucks, I remember saying, I was like, I want to get season ticket. I'm going to get a 10-game thing. I'll give a couple away. And I want to get season. I want those seats that I sit in were like comparable. And I go and like, no one can really, it's all these things like you have to fill out a form and join like the Sixers club, whatever. And then you have to go on a waiting list and all this stuff. And I go, no, man, come on. I'm like in entertainment enough that I go, I don't want this for free. You told me the face value price for these season tickets. I'll pay, but I just want to I don't want to go through this rigmarole. Always like a run around. People say they can do something for me. They can't. Matt Cord is the name of the in-house announcer. Such a sweet guy. I say something to him at one point. I'm like, man, I want to get something good, but it's like, I say I got to join like the corporate whatever. And he's like, I'm going to tell them corporate accounts that I'm going to have a guy call you and get this sorted out for you. I could tell when that guy called me, Matt Cord, it's a sweet testament to him. That's why I've never said a word about this. I've just acted like it never happened because Matt definitely presented to this guy like this. He goes, hey, call this guy right here. He goes, Big Jay Oakerson. He goes, let's get some season tickets. And I know it's like that where he's going like, pretty cool, right? Big. And this guy's definitely like, I have no idea who that is. So he calls me, he goes, yeah, Matt said you were looking to get season tickets. I was like, yeah, man, I really would like to be like in this area. And like, yeah, it would mean the world to me. I'm like goosebumpy, excited for this. And he goes, you just got to go online and fill out like the Sixers club. He just told me this process again.
Do what you already did.
And then you go on that waiting list and it's whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's so... I never ask Matt again. He doesn't ask me about it. He assumes probably that when he sees me, it's my season tickets. So now I start going, when I do go to these games and sit good seats, I loom at the floor seats on the side of the benches because for some reason that's the one I just know him now. The old man who gets in problems every year by going on the court. It says the 6th man on his thing. He owns all the dormitories at University of Pennsylvania. That's why he's there, and he's a lunatic who thinks he's part of the team. But he pays for it, so they put him there. On the other side of the scorer's table, M. Night Shyamalan and whoever he brings, and a couple down is a lawyer named Tom Klein. I found this guy's commercials on TV because I'm like, why does this guy look disinterested?
You tracked him down. I love it.
Disinterested and at 100% of the Sixers games. He must work in the building or something. I don't know. It's crazy. And his girlfriend or wife, who is never not just like feet on the floor of the court, never not on her phone, giving a shit. He doesn't seem to be appreciated. I don't know what I want him to do, but he's just like so used to it by now. He doesn't think it's that big a deal. Shyamalan, I get, of course, but you're also just like, why am I not sitting next to Shyamalan? And I go and I have this envy. And every game I go to, I just have some moment where I'm like, especially if they lose, you're like, I'm in the fucking hole. Like all this money and got to drive back to New York sad now. They don't care. They don't give a shit. When we were down by 10 with like 2 minutes left, they left happily. Like, we're going to beat traffic. So one game, I go to with Christine, my girlfriend, and we're sitting behind the Sixers bench, 7 rows. I know they go row 6, I think, 5 or 6. That's why I always do 7. One of those 2 is the first seat that rises.
Oh, okay.
I've paid big money for the 3rd or 4th row on the floor. If you're not first row on the floor, you can't sit. Everyone's level. So
is that right? They're all flat right there? Oh, that is
insane thing to charge people money for.
Yeah.
So I know like
so you get a
7.
tall person sits in front of you, you're fucked.
It's over. Not even that, dude. I've had people say it's not even tall because it can't be anybody tall in front of you at all because if you're watching at, you're behind one of the benches, so you're basically like 3/4 court. Like when you have to turn, if there's a tall person 20 people down, they're blocking it down. It sucks. It's bad seat. So I know the seats, and we're sitting in those, and I'm doing my stare at the people. I'm like, I don't get any love. Usually I tell Matt that I'm coming, the announcer, so I come say hi. Let me go down and watch them shoot around before the game a little bit. And but I didn't. That one we got there kind of late, so I'm like, I'm not going to bother them. Just sit in our seats. We don't need anything from them, you know what I mean? So I go and I'm looking at everybody pissed, and then saying to Christine, I go, I'm over it. I'm so over that they are not like, why do I get no Philly love? Like I big them up all the time, and there's murals of Kevin Hart in Philadelphia. And I'm just giving my bitching, silly bitching on purpose, be funny almost. And then the water ice guy comes by, and I go, excuse me, sir. And then this guy behind me like shoves me, and I'm like, and he goes, dude. And I'm on the screen.
No shit.
The Titan shot me because I look at it, I smile, and I mean, I do. I go, I guess, and I hear Matt Cord, in-house announcer.
Oh, hell
he
yeah.
He goes, oh, is that him right there? Is that him? And I'm like, I guess, and then it cuts to somebody else. Is that him right there? Is that another person? Is that? And then it pulls out on this a guy with a turban and a big crazy beard. He goes, no, there he is, everybody. It's tonight's Schick Razor beard of the game.
You thought they were going to give you a shot.
I was like, I was like, in that look, I was like, when everybody else just goes like, I was like, here we go.
I was just talking
the
about
kudos that I sit back. They're about to say Big Jay Oakerson on the bottom of the screen. And the punch to that whole thing even more.
Fuck,
the
dude.
final punch in the gut. That's why I always love the layered story of like, just when you think you're out of it and over it, here's one more. So I was like, well, you know what? It's cool. Look, I get it. I was a contestant in Schick Beard of the Game, but I go, Matt saw me there. So he's like, he gave me a little bit of extra, because they had me on the camera a little bit longer than everybody else. I go, that was Matt, like, giving me a little, he can't get approved to just shout me out. So he gave me like a little, like, so after the game, I go by, I go, Matt. And he turns around, he goes, oh, you came to the game tonight? And I was like, he didn't even fucking recognize that. It wasn't even a shout out from him. It was an absolute, I was a random Schick Beard of the Game contestant.
That's probably a pre-recorded message of him going, is that him? Is that him?
It might be. No, I don't think so. I think he sits there right and does it.
Oh, fuck, dude.
God damn it. That was so funny. No, I think he just doesn't. I think what he's doing is he's just looking at a little monitor right here and going like, no, there's a Schick Beard. And then he has to go like back over here and doing whatever thing. So he didn't realize it was me.
Dude.
But man, I wish there was footage, like archival footage of like, and they go, and the guy goes, look up there. And he goes, is that him right there? I go, oh my. I talked all that shit and look at this happening right now. They're about to give him some love. You reach back and Ray goes, this is how I want my poster to look, everybody. And I lost Schick Beard of the Game. I was one of the people like, find any fat shit with a beard.
Oh,
and the camera guy was like, there's a dummy. I'm sitting there.
Dude, this has been a really fun episode. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man. I've been wanting to do it for a long time.
Please plug everything again. Your special, all of it.
BigJComedy.com for all my dates. BIGJAY comedy.com. All over the place, run through the year leading up to the special Dog Belly coming out April 5th. Listen to the Bonfire on Faction Talk Series XM 103. Listen to Legion of Skanks and SDR on Guest Digital Network. All right. One thing I'm going to ask you, because I just forgot, is advice, after everything we've talked about, advice you would give to your 16-year-old self. I said, almost what we said earlier, I'd go like, smoke a little pot. Maybe almost like that. Maybe don't be so tightly wound. Because I wasn't like, I was always like, as a kid, I was even like, if I thought about big crowds, I was always like, I don't know. I'm going to get lost. You know what I mean? I almost, as they say, live a little more. That's what I would say, embrace it. That's great advice. You're only young once. That's the thing. That's the other thing. I really, because of starting comedy so young too, I gave up youth. I didn't have like, not that it's a boo-hoo. I was in comedy clubs, but it was a very like, my best friends and closest daily friends were 20-year older than me guys by that point. You know what I mean? You hear comedy clubs talking to the old vets, you know, or the guys that were in their 30s when I was 19. So it was such a directional shift that I'm like, do it, see it more. It's why I appreciate guys like Ari Shaffir and Shit My Life. And there's a few other guys who do things like when I go on the road with Ari, Bert Kreischer's another one of those guys too. It's like when we did even like that summer tour where it's designed for us all to hang out. My instinct still is like, yeah, I'll come out and we'll have like food. And then I'm just going to go watch YouTube videos back in my bunk with the thing closed and the AC on and just kind of not bother with anybody. And then I'll pop out and smoke a cigarette and we'll have a good conversation. But they're like, no, they set up a disc golf course for us. And I'm like, and my instinct is to go like, yeah, you guys have fun. But it's like, no, fuck face, like, go do it.
Yeah, right, go do it.
And Ari, I'm in Toronto with him, you know, he's like, we're going to go out to eat. I'm like, let's just get food and like watch a movie in the room or something. He's like, we're going like and we went to like one of those restaurants where they blind you and everything's in the dark. And I'm like, yeah, I should experience, I just don't. And I'm trying to get better. So I'd say that. Experience like life a little bit.
Dude, that's fucking great advice. And thank you again. And thank you guys as well. Ryan Sickler on all social media, ryansickler.com. We'll talk to y'all next week.